at Davidsonville Historic State Park near Pocahontas, Arkansas. And I am here on my daycation, which is like a vacation with day trips. And I have decided to come all the way out to Davidsonville. And it's a historic town, what used to be a town, and was donated back in, I believe, 1957 by a man named Davis, and then there was another person who owned part of the town, but they actually owned most of the town. But it was a thriving village back in the early 1800s. And let's see. Nestled on the banks of the Black River between Arkansas Delta and the Ozark foothills, Davidsonville Historic State Park is one of Arkansas's treasures. Although it seemingly failed, the dream for the town of Davidsonville was to be the foundation for prosperity for future Arkansans. From 1815 to 1830, it was the first seat of Lawrence County. It had Arkansas's first post office, land office, and brick courthouse. Davidsonville was Arkansas's first planned community. The abundant lumber here, paired with its location near the junctions of the Black Spring, 11 Point Rivers, and 11 Point Rivers made this site a perfect place for settlement and commerce. By the end of the 1820s, the movement of settlers, roads, politics, and natural forces caused the county seat to move to Jackson. Subsequently, Davidsonville fell into the pages of history. In the 1970s and again in the early 2000s, official archaeological exhibits, excavations here unearthed structural foundations and numerous historic artifacts. Buildings, buttons, coins, cups, and other artifacts found by archaeologists reveal the same desire for quality of life then as now. Today, the state parks of Arkansas preserve, protect, and interpret the story and artifacts of Davidsonville, as well as the natural surroundings that brought people here so long ago. So there are some official trails here. So, I'm just kind of wandering around at this point. See these structures, and I'm going to head for the structures and see what we see. It's a beautiful day for walking, doing anything outside. Started off in the 30s when I left home, but that was several hours ago. And I'm walking through the town. So I'm not going to know how far I'm walking or anything like that. But there are several official trails here. I have just been in the museum, which is very nice. They have, it's very small, but they have some of the archaeological artifacts that I was just mentioning have been found here. And they also have an audio tour. These neat little handheld things, kind of like a phone, but not really like a smartphone. And around the museum, there are numbers, and you just press the number into the phone and put it to your ear, and you can listen to a description or a reenactment or things of that nature. So it's pretty good. I heard a story about a bear fight with a man. Whether it was true or not, I don't know. These come from, historical accounts supposedly, but I heard about strange foods. One was beaver tail. Apparently beaver tail was a delicacy that tastes something like in between bone marrow and some kind of fish. There was, heard about a riverboats they had there. They had a mock-up of a riverboat and a bunch of animal skins in there. And here we are at the courthouse. Research indicates it was built on a plan commonly used in the Missouri Ozarks, a brick building 2 stories high on a stone foundation with a hipped roof, cupola, and central entry. So there we have 2-story structure. Cupola, I guess you could call that a cupola. This is just meant to be a frame representation. County seat town. Of course, the county seat, so it had the courthouse. That's where all the legal things took place. County elections, jury trials, and auctions brought people from outlying communities to the county seat. County election. George Caleb Bingham, that's the picture there. I don't know if you can see it. Old Davidsonville State Park, oldest town site in Arkansas. The first post office in Arkansas was established here on June 28, 1817, with Adam Ritchie as postmaster. Old Davidsonville was also the site of the first courthouse in Arkansas, built in 1815. The first United States Land Office in Arkansas was built here in 1820. John Davidson, for whom this town was named, represented this county in the Missouri Territorial Legislature in 1816. The Stephen F. Austin, the father of Texas, held the first territorial court here in 1820, and the land for this park was donated to the state by Mr. and Mrs. Newt Davis and Mr. and Mrs. Eugene Sloan. My name, of course, is Davis. I don't think there's any relation. There are lots of Davises in the United States and in England and Ireland and places like that. And this is the courthouse. And so we've got, the clerk's office, jury room. They have a 3D sort of tour of the town in the museum, which is pretty cool. It was evidently created by the Center for Advanced Spatial Technologies at the University of Arkansas, Fayetteville, Arkansas. All right, so we're leaving the courthouse. And we're getting some good exercise here walking around, just to kind of relate this back to fitness, diet, and medicine. By the way, welcome to Running a Fever. My name is Michael Davis. This is a show about fitness, diet, and medicine. My goal is to live a long, healthy, happy, active life right up to the very end. And do it by loving my life enough to make it last as long as possible. Well, today, I'm loving my life, and I'm exploring some happiness by getting out in nature and just enjoying the rustic settings of the oldest town in Arkansas. I got a feeling that over there is the tavern. But I don't have to get there in a hurry. I'm just walking and checking out the town here. It's very interesting getting here. It was a 4.5 hour drive, something like that. So it was, watch says I've been walking for 10 minutes. So half a mile. And let's see what this says right here. Transportation. There is a river highway in the Southwest Trail. Travelers use the land matrix of primitive roads that made up the Southwest Trail. Speaking of primitive roads, I had 2 stretches of gravel road on the way here, which I was a little scary. You know, I've got my outdated navigation system on my 8-year-old Ford F-150, and it was telling me to go off-road onto this gravel road, and then I'm back on another road, then back on the gravel road. River highway, and if you want to travel by river, Davidsonville is located on a wedge-shaped piece of land formed by the confluence of Black Spring and 11-point rivers, placing it in the midst of the transportation and trade superhighways of the era. Boats traveled up and down the Black River en route to the Mississippi River, and from there had access to world markets. Goods were shipped on flatboats, keelboats, and I saw a model of a keelboat in the museum, by the way, and open cargo rowboats. As the river port, the town provided landing areas for freight and passengers, as well as a variety of support services. Near the water were warehouses to store and ship goods, and boat storage and repair facilities. You got pictures of both the water transportation and land transportation and covered wagons. And somewhere around here, close to the town, is the river landing. Here is the Black River Trail. And the Black River Trail closed when the Black River floods. That's nice. 1.5 miles one way. Trail ends to join the historic town site. Trail and southwest corner of the lake at the junction with Trapper Lake Trail. So I'm doing the historic town site trail, and someone's calling me. Oh, it's just the grocery store telling me my prescription is ready. I'm not going to get too crazy today. I've had some trouble with my foot. I've off and on had this for a long time. It's just I get a pain on the right side of my foot, and so it's, no, it doesn't look like the tavern. Maybe it's the church or post office or something. Actually, the post office and the tavern were combined in one building. I just went into my walking app and it started a walk. So I don't know what the thing that started me off at 10 minutes and notified me I had 10 minutes. I don't know what that was. But now I'm in the walking app and it just started me over. So 16 seconds. All right. I think this is, I'm just going to go straight over to this other building here. We'll stop by the various stops along the way. Yeah, so anyway, I went along Highway 412 heading east. But it's not just a straight shot. It goes through towns. It makes, at 90-degree turns. It makes 100-degree turns. It makes 90-degree turns in both directions. But the signage is pretty good, so I actually was able to get here without too much trouble. But this week it's my daycation. I'm taking day trips, and this is my first one. So house lots. 48 lots around the public square. Only a few lots have been examined by archaeologists so far. Lots held houses, businesses, and outbuildings, and archaeologists know of at least 10 primary structures. By 1829, 90 families lived in or near Davidsonville, with probably close to that many houses. Houses sat on large lots with garden and livestock areas, as well as multiple outbuildings such as kitchens, smokehouses, private privies, wells, barns, chicken houses, animal pens, cold frames, and wagon sheds. Lots functioned as miniature farmsteads to support the household. So not surprisingly, it was a farming community. Even though it was a town, it was still farming. Even in the town, they were farming. So, and believe it or not, I actually, I think in my time showing you, or at least telling you about the Lake Fayetteville Trail, I've come across adjoining property, private property, marked as private property, that had, I don't know if they're hay bales, they're rolls of hay, whatever you call those. And in the town of Rogers in Springdale, I have seen cattle. There's cattle in the town, so I guess Arkansas hasn't changed much in that respect. First postal stop. U.S. Congress established post roads in the late 1700s, which were the routes that carried mail throughout the country and into the distant territories. Having a postal stop in one's town was very desirable, bringing people from surrounding communities. Mail was delivered in a leather bag to the house of the postmaster. Postmaster sorted letters into the desk's mail slots for pickup by county residents. So maybe it was just a postmaster living in a house and he had a desk like this and a bag like that. Well, the bag was for the mail carriers, but the postmaster actually got the mail, and then people came to his house to pick up their mail. Mail went regularly back and forth from the territorial capital of St. Louis to Washington, D.C. Davidsonville became the first postal stop in Arkansas on Postal Route 407, on which mail traveled from St. Louis to Davidsonville and on to Arkansas Post. Davidsonville's first postmaster was Adam Richley, who was appointed in 1817. Rather than having a separate post office as we do today, the mail was delivered to Richley at his home or business, like we said. People came to Richley's location to pick up their mail, and the postage was paid at that time. Mail ran about once a month. Riders carried the mail in portmanteaus, leather cases, or saddlebags. Riders were hired on contract and sometimes faced difficulties such as floods or bad roads in getting the mail delivered. There's a quote from Alex de Tocqueville. So here it says postal stop. This is a private residence and the postal. So it looks like pretty big. From here, probably wouldn't look as big if it was closed off. but they've got a picture here. And this was like the dual. There were two wings of it. And I think one place in the museum says it was a tavern as well. So 2 stories. 2 stories, I guess, with rooms upstairs. The steel beams you're standing under form a ghost structure to provide an outline of the original home's dimensions. Situated on the corner of the town square next to the main road, this house was prominent in the hustle and bustle of the town. The ghost structure demonstrates the home's large size and its important location in Davidsonville. I don't know if you can see any of those pictures or not. Archaeological excavations in Lot 9 revealed a massive continuous foundation of limestone that would have supported a 2-story log building similar to the Jacob Wolf House in Norfolk, Arkansas. Like that house, it's believed the house was built in a dog trot style with an open breezeway in the middle of the first floor. We don't know for sure. It's been often speculated that this might have been the house of Arkansas's first postmaster. So here I am walking around the house of the first postmaster in Arkansas. Now, there must be hundreds, if not thousands, of postmasters in Arkansas. Yeah, this looks like this is the only really structures here. That was a chimney, I suppose. Another chimney at the other end because the rooms were separated by a breezeway in a dog trot style, so you had to have a fireplace in each side. Definitely. I don't know if I told you about my physical yet. Just had it last week, I guess. And again, it's amazing. You go to the VA, you take your blood test, then you go to the doctor an hour later, and they've already got the results. And everything looks great. My blood pressure was low. Normal, which is low for me. But, no liver problems whatsoever, which is great news. I've lost about 60 pounds since I had my diagnosis of fatty liver disease or non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. NASH. So that was good news. Overall, pretty good news. The only thing I didn't get, and I've got to follow up on this, is an A1C. My previous physical I was diagnosed with as pre-diabetic, and so obviously I want to know if that's still the case or if it has advanced or declined. That's what I want to know, so I need to find that out, but so far everything looks pretty good. Within a short span of 15 years, Davidsonville rose in size and importance just as quickly returned into oblivion. Quick demise of Davidsonville led to local myths about its fall, yellow fever epidemic, a mass exodus, or a town destroyed by fire. Although colorful, there is no evidence supporting these myths. Historical and archaeological evidence suggests the demise of Davidsonville came from environmental and political influences. Despite the logic in sitting Davidsonville near 3 rivers, springtime flooding disrupted transportation routes and isolated the town. Eventually, the Black River crossing was moved where flooding was less severe. In addition, Davidsonville's location on a spur, rather than directly on the Southwest Trail, contributed to the town's decline as this route gained in importance. The county seat was moved. With access in the spring limited by flooding, the town became unsuitable for a county seat. New settlers moved further west to better land, and town residents eventually abandoned flood-prone lands for drier options. Following the population, the federal land office was moved west to Batesville after only 2 years. In 1829, the Lawrence County seat was moved from Davidsonville to Jackson, a town on the Southwest Trail. Businesses would have quickly followed. As people moved, buildings and materials were reused. Small buildings may have been physically moved to new locations, and bricks and stones from larger buildings were recycled. Eventually nothing much was left and nature covered the remains. Although not as intriguing as yellow fever or fire, these environmental and political factors are believed to be the reasons Davidsonville disappeared. And then, at some point, apparently, someone bought the town. And they owned the whole town, even though there was no buildings in it, just like today. You have ghost structures for two of the buildings, post office and the courthouse. Anyway, it's a good place to walk around and read some interesting facts. I wonder if there's going to be future archaeological excavation here. Although there are surviving documents that tell us about Davidsonville, the town existed for such a short period that many parts of the story were not written down. Day-to-day activities were too common to be considered important to note. After buildings were torn down, little remained to indicate how the town was laid out or what activities occurred on the lots. Artifacts left behind indicate that Davidsonville, although a frontier town, was not isolated from the rest of the world. And I got some pictures of archaeologists here digging for artifacts, measuring their exact locations, cataloging them and cleaned and mending them. The purpose of archaeology is not to recover artifacts, but rather to study all the evidence left behind, including building remnants, activity areas, and trash deposits in order to retell the story of life at an earlier time. Using a research plan, chosen areas are carefully excavated. Changes in soil colors, the arrangement of bricks and debris, and the location of artifacts are mapped and recorded. In the lab, broken artifacts are pieced back together and studied. Archival documents are studied and the historical context is considered. These are pieces of the puzzle that together reveal a fuller picture of Davidsonville. Davidsonville, Arkansas, no longer a thing. Like I said, it's a perfect day, although I'm a little overdressed. Like I said, I was in 30s when I left home, and I'm in my what have become my hiking jeans. They're really loose, so they're good for hiking. I lost a lot of weight, and I don't fit well into them, but it's good I can get out of them still. Cinch my belt tight enough. And got the good old hoodie on, the green hoodie. And that's getting kind of warm. So I'm gonna go and try to find Renee's restaurant. Of course, I don't know. Basically, I'm going to go one way or the other. I can't remember. I got directions, but I can't remember which way. There's, I guess, two towns nearby. There's Pocahontas and there's Blackstone, I think. Black something or other. Yep, there's a plan. It's a planned city. Only other thing is, while I was in there, I was reading that one of the historical personages of Davidsonville was a man named David Lister. And it just so happens that David Lister is a character in one of my favorite TV shows, Red Dwarf, which is a science fiction comedy about a guy left on a spaceship. He was put in suspended animation for 3 million years, and now he's all alone on this huge spaceship with friends, of course, but they're unusual friends. A robot, how shall I say it? Felix sapiens, humanoid creature evolved from a cat, and a hologram. And then there's Dave, who's just a regular human being, sort of regular, not too regular. Anyway, Dave Lister of Davidsonville and of Red Dwarf. Trivia, Running a Fever trivia. So anyway, that's the news here from Davidsonville, Arkansas, signing off. Remember, if you got the fever, keep it burning. You don't catch the fever, and I'll talk to you next time on Running a Fever.